tune, man. And he stopped it and played it again, and I thought, I must be doing something right. So when I've come out of Donington Park, I'm buzzing like anything. I can't sleep on them. This is like natural buzzing, you know what I mean? I'm buzzing like, I went, that's my tune, man. I said, T, look. And he stopped it and played it again, and I thought, I must be doing something right. So when I've come out of Donington Park, I'm buzzing like anything. I can't sleep on them. This is like natural buzzing. It's crazy. I'm buzzing like anything. It was crazy. I said, T, look, as much as going to see busy. I mean, I used to go on my face, I said, busy need to make some more tunes. I could not understand the numbers. All I could see is these numbers. But it is down to him. And it's craziness, you know what I mean? It was proper craziness. As much as he says, I mean, I used to call him the professor, breaking record, because I could not understand the numbers. All I could see was these numbers constructed. What's going on here, man?
Should we have a look at that one?
Just go with the flow, man. Tell me what you want and just roll it on. That's how keeps like before. We all started it because, regardless of what people want to say, we all started like, you know, I did Keyside Records, started there. I mean, I had the station, I originally had the station all the time, do you know what I mean? But the actual music side of it, and I wanted to make music for years, was actually being made in business studio. In kind of constructively saying, look, we're doing this, we're doing that. Yeah, we were slaughtered it sometimes, you know, but like I said, it wasn't for me going in that studio because of T. And Groove Rider actually playing that record.
Yeah.
I would never make music.
It seems like from what what you were saying in the car as well, was that like at the time it seemed like there was an amazingly short, you know, like easy pathway between making a tune and like it getting played by someone like Groove Rider, say. You know, like really just.
I wouldn't say it was easy. It wasn't easy because
not for us. I wouldn't say for us.
Yeah.
It wasn't because like what.
Yeah, to put in
it's all about who you do, isn't it? It's all about who you do.
Right. What you've got to remember as well is see, like now, you make a tune in London and social networking. That's good. Yeah. Social net. You can send your tune around the world to anyone. Here, you have to go and see that person.
Okay.
That person has to be.
There was too much control as well.
You have to go and see them.
There was a lot of control as well. Without pointing fingers at certain people, there was a lot of control in regards to what could be played and what would be played.
Right.
Like, I was lucky, I was standing on the door at Donington Park. I knew Groove Rider from, obviously, they all knew me as Mad being the guy that ran Friends Radio, so because of that, I kind of had that input into kind of getting close to him. But actually working at Donington Park as a security guard and having the record in my hand was just a concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably phrased that badly. I didn't mean it was.
No.
I suppose like easy isn't definitely the wrong word. It's more like that it was a real. Yeah, it was like it was a personal connection.
It was real, but
you had to network.
Yeah, you had
to network.
Okay.
If you weren't a networking type of person, like me, you would suffer because you know, like you're saying, I was a hermit.
We all were. I mean, for me, if you wanted to find me, you had to know where the studio was. My friends were, because I was there all the time.
Yeah.
Other than that, you'd find me maybe playing at the Astoria, some of the gigs that I was booked for. If I wasn't at any of them gigs, you would not find me.
Right.
Unless you knew T or you knew Busy. And even then, like Busy would say, oh yeah, you know, so-and-so, I'm not interested in this. And he goes, yeah, but he's going to go, so I'm not
I suppose it was only when we started cutting dubs that it started really
kicking out,
Yeah, the Music House was the spot.
right.
That's where, because so many people went to Music House, so it's all about getting your ass down to Holloway, some way or the other. If you didn't drive, that's even a
get on the train, man.
Yeah,
get down to
start cutting dubs, and that's where everybody was. But then, even then, when you wanted to go down there and cut your dubs, it's getting man to cut your dub to play out at the raves if they didn't want to cut your dub.
Because it was not kind of making it political. Because I mean, to be in all fairness, in looking at everything in a positive way, you've got a selective amount of DJs that are on the flyers. You know, the flyers have always got the typical thing, and fair enough, they all deserve. No, taking nothing away from no one. So you've got your media DJs there that are like on every single flyer. The promoters are booking them because it works, right? And I get that, yeah. So what happens is now the rest of the scene is approaching these guys with tunes. Now, every one of these DJs has only got an hour to play, right? So you've got to play what you think is the cream of the crop. And when you've got 100 tunes plus being sent to you every week, which I guarantee was the case, because some of the amount of dats them guys used to turn up with the music house used to take the whole day to cut their dubs. I used to hear people cutting dubs, spending like 300 quid on dub plates plus, and they were cutting tunes, futuristic tunes, you know. And then there was the promo side.
They prioritise those people in the queue.
Yeah,
so
Sometimes you should go down there. You wouldn't even get in the queue.
The thing is, you go down there sometimes. Let's just say Friday night. You go down there on Friday night, and I mean, when it started kicking off for us, I mean, all of us. It was nice when we used to walk. When I used to walk in the door, and people would say, "Oh, that's a new Quayside thing," and I'll go, "Well, yeah," and then you get 5 or 6 people want to cut it. That was great. Yeah, that was really good. And you know, it was nice when people say, "Oh, where's Busy?" I said, "I'm in the studio."
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and that side of it was nice. But if you did it to step up onto the platform that the big DJs had, no, it didn't. But we still had to work to get to that platform, and we was always behind. We was always behind. I don't regret that, because to be quite honest with you, that leaving us behind made us better producers. Made obviously these guys better engineers, because they were rooted to their computers. And when I look back on that, a lot of those guys that were actually saying, "Oh yeah, we made the tunes," and I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking them. They actually weren't engineers. These guys were engineers. These guys learnt their craft, not from going to college, from sitting in front of the computers and just learning what was in front of them. You know, so I think we should have been given more props back then, a lot more props. But we didn't. We wasn't. And looking at it now, I do understand it.
But back to what I'm saying as well, in that whole music house scenario, if I mean, like you said, they got priority because they were spending a lot more.
I'm not recording all this.
Oh, okay. They got priority because they were spending. I am.
I didn't want to. I wasn't sure if you wanted to, because you were talking about other people and jumping the queue.
No. That's part
of the parcel.
We're not putting anyone down. Like, at the end of the day, you know, we're just saying how our view of how it was, and like I say.
Go for it.
Yeah, so like I said, we're not putting anyone down as such, but like how it used to be back in the day, it was quite hard to get your music heard if you didn't know someone or were tight with someone who was a mainstream DJ. And there was a select amount of DJs on the scene that used to get pretty much most of the work because they were good at what they'd done. So like I said, I'm not taking anything away from anyone. They were the top DJs. The promoters used to book them because it worked. The place was rammed, they used to smash the night and everything. But at the same time now, the whole scene was sending them their music. So obviously they had to work out the top tracks that they thought were bangers. I mean, even now, if I play in an hour, I'll have to go through my tunes and I have to say, I have to play tunes that are just going to smash up the set. And then the ones that I would play on radio probably roll out that are good, but I know that it wouldn't do the dance floor just as good damage as the others. I've got to filter those tracks out and just say, right, pop that aside. So they only had to deal with what they thought were the bangers. And sometimes when because for me, I've always tried to make my music different to everyone else.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never really tried to copy anyone as such, right? I've always tried to, you know, if the music's going left, I want to go right with what I'm doing. I want to come out with different stuff. And sometimes people didn't get it. You know, and sometimes I make something and think it was shit. And then, like, someone like Mickey Finn would hear it through contacts and he'd love it. That was like a 16-track thing. I was just going to record over that. And that track came out and flipping done some damage. But what I'm saying is, you know, unless you knew certain DJs and you know you were in tight with them, for them to hear your immediate tracks as they were banging, it was very hard. And you know, it's all about going down to Music House and making that link with certain DJs. And at the time, it's not that every single DJ goes down to music house every day. So it's all about who you saw at that time. And if you was lucky enough and in tight with one of the music house boys, you could leave your DAT there with them and say, if anyone comes in, give them a little piece of this, give them a little cut of that, and that was a way of circulating your tracks. I know. Pugwash used to do that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was
the Joker stuff, and Pugwash was a great networking guy, and he was able to take stuff out there and get, that's how the Joker label was able to do so well, because he was the face of Joker, and then we'd come back in the studio. He'd give me a few ideas in there and we'd work on tracks together. That's how that side of it came about. So it was quite clicky, but I find a lot of labels suffered and had tons of material that was unheard because of it. Because for the most part, you hear a man's track out there getting smashed, right? And you think, wow, this tune's bad. But he's probably got 100 more tunes sitting there on disc and archive and that nobody's heard yet. And that's how it was with us. And we had to be very, very selective. And the thing is as well, we would press up songs on test press, give it out to a few bods in our limited thing. We used to rely on the distribution. It was stupid because, like I said, I didn't know anything about marketing. Not as much, they're saying if you knew now what knew then what you knew now, But now, what it was is I used to press up tracks on vinyl and I used to give it to a few bods and then hope for the best. Right? Whereas I could have got a campaign behind it. I could have taken it to everyone who's anyone and tried my best, made more of an effort. But I was too busy, more interested in making the songs.
But then you personally, I think that learning curve there was what made us better at what we was doing. I can understand the marketing side of things, and you spent all this money out. There wasn't really a tune that didn't do too well. Our tunes did all right.
No,
we just didn't do 50, 60,000 like some of the others.
No, but the point that I'm trying to make with that, is that sometimes we press tracks on promo and they didn't go any further than promo. When it came to doing the pre-sale with the SRD or whatever, the distribution companies, your jump starts, your whatevers, you're lucky if you sold 200 or 150 units. So what happened, fast forward 20 years on now, those tracks are now like rocking horse crap to get hold of because there was only 100 in circulation. And that's what causes that spike in sales, because there's 100 people and there's like 400 or 500 people want it, and the value of all the old school goes up. The tracks that you couldn't even give away back then, people are now, through the internet, it's getting its promotion that it deserved back then. And now all of a sudden it's got really high value, which brings us to this point today where people are selling old school records for 67 quid. And we've now evolved. We're in the greatest time ever now to release music, because we now got the control as like independent labels, independent artists. Technically, you don't need distribution, even though people are using distribution now and not putting down distribution companies, but people are selling the brunt of it themselves, and then maybe, if they want, either keep hold of it and let it trickle, or passing it on to a distribution company. But now, like I say, it's a lot more easier to promote. And even though you still have to be savvy on it, and you can still go full on with what you're doing and have the full marketing campaign that's out there. That me personally, back then I didn't even know anything about marketing or anything. You're just talking about a poor boy who's grown up, rough and tumble, not had a pot to piss in, left school when he was flipping 15, didn't get on with his parents, moved out at the age of 15, looked after his little brother who was like flipping 5-6 years old, and I had to make a career decision. It got to a point where I had to say, what do I want to do with myself? I've got 500 quid that my dad gave me before he went to Jamaica, and I had to either find a way to survive or take a gamble and press up a record. And that's what I did. I pressed up a record, and I was just rotating and built up my studio to where it got to. And
that first record you made was on
was Brain.
Was Brain Records. That was Revolution and USI Bleak Mania with a guy called Blakesky with the Bleak Mania and the Revolution. I did myself on the Amiga. There was, we had a bit of a problem. We got bumped. Like I say, I was explaining to you guys in the car. We went to Watford to this recording studio, and that was run by these guys that were just basically scamming people out of hiring a day in the studio. Yeah. Went down there, done that. Didn't get a recording deal. They promised everyone a recording deal, but it was just a way of getting money out of them. So we got bumped first initially, and then went on to just hiring a recording studio for sort of 60 quid, where I was able to. Sorry.
60 quid.
Yeah, 60 quid, where I was able to get my first master recorded and sort of take it to be able to play on acetate and go from there. I got a pressing deal with Telltales. Telltales was in Stratford. They were a pressing plant. Things were warped. A lot of records got warped in there. You know what I mean? It was a bit of a mess. Like, you used to get vinyl coming out like this. But they were the only place that could give me credit, right? Because I was not credit worthy back then, and those guys, they trusted me with a bit of credit. So I was rolling with my Warp records. Might as well call. I should have been original Warp records. You know what I mean? Because almost everything on Brain was either off center like that, or flipping, or warped, or had issues with it.
How many were you pressing out?
At the time, 1,000 units was a good amount for us. We had the Slamming Vinyl boys that come through. They did their first tune. A lot of artists done their first tracks with us. We had Zinc. He came through. He done his first track with us. We had Slamming Vinyl and a lot of other Studio High guys who came through. Slamming Vinyl were doing stuff. They were doing their stuff, and they were doing some good units. They were selling. They were the first time I ever heard people selling like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pressing up. Because when you go into the pressing block, you get to hear, oh, he's pressing this, he's pressing. He's doing all right, isn't he? But like for us, 2,000 copies was big back then. And remember, we're talking about no internet. So 2000, independent record label. Do you know what I mean? It was exciting times. We got involved with Mo's Music as well, distributions, Jumpstart distribution, Shell Shop distribution. You was involved with some distribution as well.
Shell Shop. I was working with Shell Shop.
You was working with Shell Shop, yeah. And that's basically it.
Right.
I mean, it's strange because with Shell Shock, I kind of got involved with them obviously because I'm busy. People say to distribute, and I was kind of speaking to the guy. And I was like, "Oh, do you want to come and work in the office?" And I thought, "I've done this before, but yeah, I'll do it." You know what I mean? So I went in there, kind of learned the trade, but I was still doing Friends Radio.
Okay.
So it was kind of nice, but it still didn't give us that 5,000-6,000 sales. You know what I mean? And I was kind of thinking to myself, well, why are all these other labels doing that? We're making music that's just as good, but it's not doing that. And Busy explained it earlier. You've got the top echelon of DJs, and they're getting chucked probably 30, 40 bits of vinyl every week, more than that even. And like I said, you've got to pick the best of the best. And even though our tunes were good, and we were playing with friends, they still had to kind of choose what was going to work with the crowd at the time. So sometimes we'd kind of be overlooked as such.
Maybe it's that crispy, crunchy Amiga sound we had. Might have had something to do with it.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that.
The sheer volume of tracks that we was working on. So even if we did do 1,000 or 2,000, like by the time that hit, there was about another 20 other tracks.
Yeah.
On the label, we were all producers as well. So for every one that we released, like for every one that I might have released on Brain Progression, there was about 20 tracks that didn't release.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we just moved on because we were obviously DJs as well, so we'd spin a tune. And then I think as well, back then, the soon as a track got released, a lot of DJs would move on to the unreleased because it was about more unreleased stuff as well.
It was because it also meant that when you went out there as a DJ and you had unreleased stuff, you wasn't playing. Let's just say me and T was playing the same venue. You wasn't playing the same tune as him. You know what I mean? So that was where I kind of got me to what I did. I said, business, I want to start a label. And he was like, oh, well, what? So I kind of said to him, this is the name. And the original key side was a key. You know what I mean? It was a key, so that was how I started. And what I would do was I'd press up the tune, go up to Music House, play the tune, but walk out the room. So I think all the boys going, oh yeah, who's tunes that? And what was his name? The guy that Paul would go, oh yeah, that's YB's tune, but you can all cut it. So I'd have 6 or 7 people cutting the tune. And I thought to myself, oh, this is really good, man. So what I'd do, I'd go down on a Monday, I'd say, look, is that? I'll come back and see you the following week. And that was working for me in that respect. What I wasn't doing was pressing the tune up.
Well, can I just say, like, it's when these DJs at Music House were cutting your music, were they paying you at all?
No, it wasn't.
Right.
No,
So, but
they were paying for the dub plates themselves.
Okay,
You cut a plate, and it would be, I don't know, what was it then? 20, 30 quid.
30 quid.
Yeah.
30
So it's
quid.
quite a lot of money when you think back.
Yeah.
I mean, take into account, them boys were earning, they was earning like.
It was 25 until they had to be VAT registered.
Yeah. So they were paying for their limited edition dub plate. 24.
Can I just ask? So go on, you go for it.
One thing I wanted to ask was, like, when you mentioned that, like, there was a certain kind of cream layer of tune that that was being played, played out regularly, and was a banger. Do you know what I mean? Like a hit. I don't know. Like what was the first tune on Brain Records that you think like got that status?
I'd say 16-track thing.
Twisted Bedtasm.
Twisted Bedtasm.
Yeah.
Twisted Bedtasm was the first track that really got traction. I remember cutting that on a dub plate, and I was playing alongside Randall at a club. And just played the track. I mean, it was, I was just doing my thing, and I dropped the track, and he was just like, "Wow, what's this, man? I want a piece of this." And it just sort of took from there. I think he cut a dub of it, and it just got spread around. 16-track thing was another track that done quite well.
Maybe that was my personal thing.
Weekend,
yeah.
I mean, there was a point where a lot of the tracks, Science EP, those tracks started to sell well. That was the first time.
Looking back, what track are you most pleased with? How it came out, how it sounded? What's like the proudest?
None of them, mate. It's always, for me, like, tracks could always be sounding better.
Yeah.
There's one track that I got perfect, and that was Basic, Second Protocol. And that sound, I couldn't have tweaked that any better. And it sold 56,000 copies.
For me, I like Darkness. That was...
Sorry, wait a sec. Go.
Yeah, for me, Darkness was like one of the tracks that I'd done with Busy that when I listened back to it, that was like one that I was most happy with. Especially the different changes in it and stuff, and that was, I think, for me, my first kind of like taste out of a tune that like I was hearing other people play, not just myself.